Right, so we are doing the B paper from 2008, the simple non-calculator paper. So there can be this sort of simple question on this one, 2.65 plus 0.5. Important thing to make sure that the decimal points are under one another. Here there's actually a 0, so we get 5 and 0, 0. 6 and 5, 11, carry 1. 2 plus 1, 3. So we should have the answer 3.15, and that's enough to get you 1 E point. And you don't have to have working out because it's just the E points. Then we have a bucket of sand, and the bucket can take 1/5 of a litre, or 0.2, and it says how many small buckets would you need if you want 9 litres of sand. So the amount of sand in total divided by the amount the bucket can hold will give you the number of buckets you need. And there's a few different ways of doing this. We could change 1/5 to 0.2, so we'd get 9 divided by 0.2, which quite easily we can multiply top and bottom here by 10. It will give us 90 divided by 2, which would be 45 buckets. So we'd need to take 45 buckets of sand to get 9 litres. Another way we could do this one is we could actually divide by fractions. 9 divided by 1/5. The number under the second divide line, remember the rule here for fractions, the number under the second divide line jumps to the top so that it ends up as being 9 divided by 1 times 5/1, giving us 9 5s, which are also 45 buckets. When we have numbers under the second fraction, the number under the second dividing line jumps up to the top and becomes a multiply. Either of those give you the same answer. Then we had a question where we were doing spinning over a lottery ticket, trying to win chocolate at the fairground.
No, you...
No? Oh, I missed one.
Yeah.
There's another one, sorry. 35 divided by 0.1 is the same as 35 times something. Well, if we divide by 0.1, it's the same as dividing by 1/10. And here we've got the 10 under the second divide line here, so that's the same as multiplying by 10. So that would be the same as 35 times 10. That's one way of thinking about it. Another is, okay, we want to get 35 here. How could we get 35 divided by 1? We could multiply top and bottom here by 10. That would give us 35 times 10 divided by 1. And then we can see we have 35 times 10 as the factor there. So there's a couple of different ways of thinking of that one, but 10 should be the right answer there. Then we're at the fairground. And what do we know? We're spinning the wheel of fortune, and we've got the numbers starting here at number 1 and going here all the way up to number 20. Lisa's going to play on the lottery, and she plays once. She puts it on 4 different numbers at the same time. And she's got a chance out of 20, because there's 20 different numbers. So 4 chances out of 20, because you can only win if the right number comes up. So she's got 4 chances out of 20 of winning the bar of chocolate, because she's bought 4 tickets. Let's simplify that, because we can't leave it like that. Both top and bottom here can be divided by 4. 1 chance out of 5. There's 1/5 of a chance that she is going to win the chocolate here. And you can answer statistics like that as 1/5, or you can even answer them as 0.2, but usually quite often just keep them as fractions. Question 5, solve the following equation. we have x divided by 3 plus 2 equals 5. Move the 2 to the other side, it becomes minus. X divided by 3 is 5 minus 2, which is 3. We don't want to know what a third of x is, we want to know what the whole of x is. So multiply both sides by 3. We get x equals 3 times 3, which equals 9. So x equals 9 would be the correct answer there. Then we have which of these numbers is largest. We don't have a calculator. We've got some fractions here, 25 fiftieths, 49 100ths, 10 19ths, and a half. Well, if we look at all of these, 7.5 over 15 would be exactly a half, so this one is less than a half. 25 over 50 is exactly a half. 49 over 100ths is slightly less than a half. A half is equal to a half. And then we have 10 19ths. 10 19ths is slightly more than a half. Only just. But 9.5 over 19 would be exactly a half, and this is 10 over 19. So this is the largest one. The one there's only one that's slightly more than a half. All the others are either a half or less than a half. So you don't need a calculator for that, just look at the fractions and decide what number are they close to. Then we have a pattern here. 3, 5, 9, 15, gap, 33. And they want to know what's the number in the gap. Well, we have to identify the pattern. Here we've got plus 2, plus 4, plus 6. Looks like we're adding an extra 2 on each time, so I'd expect this one to be plus 8 to give us 23. And if I'm right, this one should be plus 10 to give us 33. Yes. So we'd expect 23 there. Then we have a temperature time diagram where we're starting on a scale. Looks like it's water because it's at 100 degrees. And at 30 minutes it's gone slightly below 40. And then it says, so at 40 degrees is exactly 25 minutes on the curve. And then if we look at the 60 degree point, we can see that it's around 12 minutes. So how many minutes does it take for the temperature to go from 60, it arrives at 60 at 12 minutes, and it ends up at 40 at about 25. So the time it takes, 25 minus 12 equals 13 minutes. And I think that the answers available there were anything in the range of 11.5 minutes to 14.5 minutes. So it does depend exactly how you read it. Always try and use a ruler in this type of diagram. Make sure that you sketch it nicely on the paper so that you don't make a silly mistake there. Then we have question 9. Give any number between 0.09, here we have 9 100ths, and 0.1, which is 1/10. So anything between 9 100ths and 1/10. Well, there's loads of different numbers there. You could have 0.09001. Actually works. Or you could go from 0.091, 092, 093, 094, all the way up. Okay, up to 0.1. So any number there is acceptable. Then we've got one more question at E-level points before we start going on to C-level questions. A car is driving at a speed of 90 kilometers per hour. How long will it how far will it travel in 20 minutes? Well, 20 minutes is 20/60ths of an hour, which is 1/3 of an hour. So if a car goes 90 kilometers in 1 hour, it will go 90 divided by 3 in 1/3 of an hour. So it will go 30 kilometers. So in 1/3 of an hour, the car will only have gone 1/3 of the distance it would have gone in a whole hour. And you can use SVT, the speed diagram as well, but I think it's almost easier to do it just like that. And that's the end of the E-level questions. And now we're starting to come on to C-level questions, which is why I can't understand that this one is here. 7 times 10 to the power 8. How many millions is that? Well, you know, in 9th grade we should know that 7 times 10 to the 8 is the same as 7 times 10 to the 2 times 10 to the 6. We want it in millions, so we want the power of 10 to the 6 here. 10 to the 2 is 10 squared, which is 100. So we get 700 times 10 to the 6, which is 700 million. Okay? And that was a C point for that. They're very generous. Then it says, make an approximation. You've got the number 0.27 multiplied by 0.89. And ring in the alternative that you think it's closer to. Well, let's approximate it instead to 0.3 times 0.9. Because we all know that 3 9s are 27. We have 2 numbers after the decimal point here in the question. So we have to put the decimal point back 2 places in the answer. So we're expecting an answer to be around 0.27. We've done an approximation, but they may be giving us the correct answer. There is an answer close to 0.27, and it's 0.24. So the one that we should be ringing in here is 0.24. Would expect the real answer to be slightly lower because we've raised the this one by 3/100ths, but we've only reduced that one, increased that one by 1/100. So that would seem reasonable. Then we have a piggy bank. Karin has used 40% of her pocket money, and she has 120 kronas left. How much does she get in her money? Well, if she's used 40%, that means that the 60% is what she's got left. So the 60%, what she's got left, is the 120 kronas. And that was the tricky thing there. She used 40%, but she's got 120 kronas left. So the 60% that she has left is equivalent to her 120. Okay, how do we go from 60% to 100%? Well, if we multiply by 100 and divide by 60, do the same thing here, times 100 and divide by 60, we will get 60 times 100 divided by 60 will give us 100% here. So that will give us 120 times 100 over 60. The zeros cancel, 6 goes into 12 2 times, so we get 20 times 10. So it's 200 kronas. Okay? Yeah. Yeah. Let's look at the easier way to do this one. If we know that 60% is 120 kronas, let's go from 60% to what 1% is. This is the easiest way. We can go from 60 to 1% only using multiply and divide. If we divide this side by 60, we get what 1% is. If we divided this side by 60, we have to divide this side by 60. So 1% is equivalent to 120 divided by 60 is 2 kronas. So we know that 1% of our money is equivalent to 2 kronas. We now know that if we get from 1% to 100%, we can times by 100. That will give us 100%, which is therefore equivalent to 2 kronas times 100. We do the same thing to both sides of the equation, giving us 200 kronas. So 1% is equivalent to 200 kronas.